Let's Talk to Animals. My name is Shannon Cutts. I'm with Animal Love Languages, and this is Pearl Cutts, my 22-year-old feathered sidekick, the real star of the show and today's host. I am his co-host. So we are here today every week on YouTube and on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms to talk about all things animal communication. My passion and purpose in life is to facilitate more happy people and more happy pets, and talk about, a topic that used to be viewed as woo, and maybe even off limits. And I have a feeling today's guest, Karen Anderson, will have quite a bit to say about that, because she has an amazing story. There's a lot of openness there. It just really depends on where you're looking. First of all, if you look inside yourself and you ask yourself, do I believe that my animal, my beloved pet, has messages for me? And you feel a yes in your gut and your head can't talk you out of it, there's a good chance that your gut is right. So we're talking about that. We're also talking about a little bit of the mechanics, putting a little structure around it. How do you get started? The different ways that you can enter into this interspecies communication, this dialogue that's always going on. And for those of you who want to take it a little bit further, our guests each week have some pretty powerful teaching and courses that you can sign up for, books that you can read, lots and lots of videos that you can watch. And of course, you can always visit us at animallovelanguages.com. I now want to stop and welcome Karen Anderson. You are an amazing, really, your story floored me as I was reading it. And one of my dearest friends is a graduate of your programs. And that's actually how I learned about you. And you can be found, just to make sure I don't forget, because sometimes I do. I always try not to. People can find you at animalcommunicating.com. So I just want to point that out. We'll put that in the show notes too.
Okay, and the easier one is actually KarenAnderson.net. That's actually
KarenAnderson.net. Thank you so much. Perfect.
That'll get you the same place.
Okay. Well, we'll list both of those in the show notes as well. But I just want to give you just a really heartfelt welcome today. Very grateful. Okay. Are you ready for parrot lunch? Yeah. Go have parrot lunch. Really heartfelt, warm welcome today. So delighted to see your smiling face and be able to connect here virtually in person. Just imagine the air quotes for those of you who are listening, and learn a little bit about what brought you to animal communication. So that's where I always like to start, is when did you know that talking to animals was even possible?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say thank you for just having me on the show. It's just a joy and a delight, and it's my favorite topic in the world to talk about. So I love sharing my story. I love it. And thank you for just being here for those who want to learn and who have that, maybe that interest, or something's drawing them in. We need podcasts like this. We need people like you who are there so that those who have that interest can reach out and really find valuable information. So I want to thank you for offering that, Shannon. That's just wonderful for you doing that. And I'm excited.
It's my joy.
It is. Isn't it fun? It's like the best job in the world. It's
seriously. Well, except for, I have to say, mucking out horse stalls. So you'll have to tell us about that. But
absolutely,
it's got to be at least number 2 on the list, right?
Exactly. So to answer your question, quite simply, it was something I did as a child. I just didn't realize that it wasn't what everybody did. As a kid, you're pretty naive and thinking, whatever happens to you happens to everyone, and this is how things work. And so lo and behold, kind of the first thing that led me to think that, maybe I was doing something different is, my parents just acted really odd when I would tell them things about our family pets that a 5 or 6-year-old child couldn't possibly know, medical conditions, or, just things that's just not in the realm. So that was the first indication My earliest memory, of course, is getting messages from a childhood dog named Prince. He was a big black and white collie. And this was back in the days when Lassie was the #1 show on television. We had this beautiful black and white collie, and he was just my world. He was everything to me. And we would have silly little conversations, nothing like on the level of, an animal communicator, but certainly silly little conversations. And he was my best friend. That was really the first memory that I have looking back. As when did I start doing this? Very, very early on. I don't know that I ever didn't communicate with animals. So it just came very naturally to me as a child.
So you had an open channel. You came here, you came into this life with an open channel, but perhaps as a child, you didn't necessarily, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and just guess that maybe you didn't exactly know what to call it. Perhaps, you wouldn't have marched it up to someone to say, well, I'm an animal communicator,
Right.
I'm an interspecies communicator, I'm an intuitive, I'm a sensitive, I mean, so those of you who are listening or watching today, consider whether, because it feels easy sometimes to listen to these stories told in hindsight from, an adult's perspective with the big, broad umbrella view picture, to say, oh, well, I can't relate to that. Well, take a look back at some subtle things that may have happened early on in your life. Did you just know if one of your animals was hurting or stressed out or unhappy? Or, did you always just seem to be the one who found the baby bird that had fallen out of the tree, or the newborn squirrel? Or did you just notice that, if you were walking along and you saw someone that was not behaving kindly towards their pet, that you just had an inner pull or an inner instinct to go over and to, even if you didn't follow that, it's not always safe to do that, so I'm not advocating that, but did you feel an inner tug of empathy and compassion, and you could feel what that animal was going through and you wanted to intervene and to help? These are all ways to start noticing if you have an open channel. And we'll talk a little bit later about some of the ways that animals can send us messages, and because there are lots of different ways that we can receive information. They often, they, being my college speech instructors, of course, say that, a huge chunk, maybe up to 90% of all communication is nonverbal. Well, animals are specialists at nonverbal communication, whereas humans, mostly we tend to kind of grind around in the 10% that is verbal and kind of trick ourselves into thinking that's all that there is. And what Karen's talking about is so much deeper than that. But it's also there between two human animals, and it's definitely there between human animals and non-human animals. So you kind of realized, Karen, very organically, that you were just having these conversations, or you were receiving. Did they feel more like conversations to you? Did it feel more like you were just receiving information that was timely?
We were having silly little conversations.
You were having, because animals can be funny too, right? It's not all about my hind paw hurts.
Yes.
Or,
very much so. It was a back and forth conversation, and it was very fluid. It was very easy. There was nothing where you had to try or sit or focus or count to 10 or stand on your head. It was just
yes.
a very simple process. And I just assumed everyone could do it. Didn't ever strike me as, hey, you're doing something here. And that kind of led to a little bit of my parents didn't know what to do with that. So as a young child, I learned very, very early on that they disapproved. So I started to hide it, to not share what I was getting. And I learned to just keep quiet about it and keep to myself about it. And the only one who really believed me was I had a childhood friend named Lori, and we're still friends to this day, which is super cool. But she was the only one who really believed me that I could talk to the animals. And, that gave me a sense of, okay, well, I'm not really that weird. Maybe I'm a little weird, but I'm not that weird because my friend thinks it's really cool. But as time went by, I just found myself drifting away from it. And really, as you're growing up and you're finding, less and less approval from your parents of what you're doing, you just tend to keep it to yourself. And that's what I did. I kept it to myself. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of parents do. They don't know how to handle a child that maybe sees spirits, or, can see their departed grandparents visiting that they never met and can describe them. And so they learn very quickly. Children want their parents' approval, so they learn very quickly, this is not okay. Don't do this. Mom and dad don't approve, or whoever. So I think that's what happened to me. And looking back now, everything was meant to happen the way that it happened for me. I basically went for most of my adult life until it all started coming back to me again. And boy, oh boy, did it come back in a big way.
And in a very interesting and creative way as well.
Absolutely.
We could do a whole podcast just on your story. And I want to encourage everyone to visit KarenAnderson.net and go ahead and give yourself the gift of reading Karen's whole story, because it's profound, it's remarkable, it is a testament to resilience and being brave. And, I really want to highlight for those of you, because, not all of us come to find our tribe or our people early in life. I'm 50 this year, about to turn 51, and it's only been in the last couple of years that I've really started to tune in and tap into the fact that I get to choose everything, but it's a choice that has to start on the inside first. It's about noticing preferences, setting an intention. As my teacher, Sonia Choquette, talks about, then it's important to find believing eyes, but it doesn't have to be lots of people. It can be one person. Before I was an animal intuitive and sensitive, I ran a charity that I founded for people recovering from eating disorders. And we ran for 10 years. We had more than 100 recovered mentors. We changed the face of the eating disorders industry. And it just solidified my belief that everyone has someone. We don't all have hordes, the way it often appears to be on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram. I have, 18,000 fans on Instagram, followers, whatever they're called. I mean, some of those people are friends, but far, 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 far fewer. And for you, Karen, you had one person. You had your childhood friend who thought it was, if nothing else, a cool party trick, definitely something groovy, and interesting. I can't believe, did I just say the word groovy? Yes, I did. I'm 50, guys. You just got to give me a pass, substitute your own, whatever the cool trending word is. But, think about, instead of all of the folks in your life who maybe would look at you and go, whoa, somebody just slid off the deep end, went down the wrong end of the slide or whatever. Think about maybe the one person who might be at least curious, interested, open, willing to give you a listen. Look for that one person, and let that one person, and sometimes for us, it's our teacher. And we'll talk a little bit about how Karen can help with that. Sometimes it's our teacher who's our first set of believing eyes, but everybody has one person, at least one person. I challenge you to find your one person. And please write to me if you simply can't find someone, and I will be your person. I will be your believing eyes. And, start there, because that one person is the beginnings of your tribe. And consider how all of the experiences in your life may still be in progress. If things aren't adding up, if you look back like I do at my very checkered careers, career that's like into the 10s, into the 20s now, I didn't understand at the time. But the intuition, the empathy, the sensitivity, the compassion, and the connection with nature have always been common threads. So start thinking about, where do you see common threads? Not trying to make the exterior make sense, because I can almost promise you it won't, but look deep, look deeper, look inside. And let's talk about now, what it's like a little bit more talking with animals, and how do we kind of build a little momentum, put a little structure. If you're listening, I'm just going to, again, go out on a big limb here and assume that if you're listening to a podcast called Let's Talk to Animals instead of, Think and Grow Rich, or, homeschooling, or whatever all, or, 5 Days to Fit, or whatever is out there, that, maybe you're at least curious, you're interested, you are open, you love animals and nature, and you'd like to make a difference in some way, shape, fashion, or form, whether it's with your own animal, at a local charity, or perhaps even like Karen and myself, to do it more publicly and be more of an ambassador for interspecies communication. So Karen, tell us a little bit about what is it like, and how to just start tuning in as a total newbie. Like, pretend I literally know nothing, which probably
yeah. Right. Well, we all start at total newbie, at the total newbie line. I didn't start as an expert. You didn't start as an expert. We all start as total newbies. Even though I could do this as a child, those were long forgotten skills that were effortless. As an adult, I had all of this stuff in the way. I had the belief that I couldn't. I had naysayers around me. I had, family members that didn't support me. They thought I was completely nuts. And so you stack all that stuff against, what you really want to do. And suddenly you have this insurmountable obstacle in front of you. And you think, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe this really isn't real. So you just have to kind of buckle down and stand right in the middle of your truth and say, you know what? I really love this. I'm really interested in this. I'm going to see how far I can go with this. My belief was, and I want to thank my grandfather, passed away many years ago, but he told me, he was Italian, he was from Sicily, so he'd grab my cheek and he'd shake my cheek, and it hurt, but I was a little kid, but his hands were always so rough. And I just remember him grabbing my cheek and he's like, let me tell you something, kiddo. He said, in life, he said, do one thing, but do it really, really good. And I always remembered that. I always kept that in the back of my mind. Now, he was an immigrant. They came over here, a family of 8 or 10 or something like that. No money. They didn't speak the language. They had nothing. And he became a painter. Well, he turned that painting into a career, and he ended up a very successful man. And his properties were in the millions of dollars. And God bless him. He was as humble as they come, the salt of the earth. You would never know that this man had turned something so simple as painting houses into a success. So I always kind of thought about that in the back of my mind. Do one thing, do it really, really good. Well, how can I be really, really good at this one thing? So what I start with, my first suggestion to those who really want to tune in, who haven't a clue, just go with your first impressions. What is that first impression when you see or look at a photo of an animal, or you see an animal walking by? What are your first impressions? Instinctively, intuitively, your body is already receiving messages, whether your brain wants to acknowledge it or not. So when you go with your very first impressions, that's the key that opens the door to sharpening your intuitive skills. So it's that simple. Keeping track of your first impressions. What do you feel? What do you sense? Does that pet look happy? Does it look sad? Does that animal look content? Does it look like it's in pain? And yes, sometimes there's obvious things, it's limping or whatever it's doing. But that's okay. The obvious is still a message coming through. So don't discount anything. If it comes through, accept it, be willing to receive. I truly believe that you have to be open, you have to be willing to receive, and you have to be ready. You have to be like, okay, I'm ready for this. I want to do this. And you have to be kind, gentle, humble, respectful of this animal. If you're not a person who loves snakes, don't start out by trying to connect with a snake. Find something that you're really connected to, like your cute little cockatiel there. You know, if you're
Cute
a
little
bird
cockatiel.
person, yes, you know, find somebody that you're drawn to and just start with your first impressions. Like first impressions there, very happy, very confident, very content, super intelligent, you know, just simple first impressions. That's all. What you're doing there is you're kickstarting your intuition, and you're getting those wheels turning. And yeah, it sounds real basic and real simple, but we all have to start somewhere. So that's what I recommend. And then journal everything, keep track. On this day at this time, I connected with this particular animal, and this is what I received. And just keep track. It's the best way for you to see how far you've come and to track your progress. And when you go back and share what you received with that animal's person, you have something to refer back to and look at your notes and go, well, I scribbled this thing. I don't know what it is. It's triangular in shape. And then lo and behold, their human just put a new triangular bird toy in their cage, or you know what I'm saying.
I
You
know
just never
exactly what you're
know.
saying.
You never
Mhm.
know what will end up being an actual message. So you just have to allow all of that to come through. And there's gonna be a time where you feel like you're getting nothing, like nothing is coming through. That's okay. That happens to me too. Sometimes we're not in alignment. Sometimes we have too much else on our minds. Sometimes there's just a little bit of a block for whatever reason. Maybe you're nervous, maybe you know you're anticipating too much. Even too much excitement about it can stop or slow down the flow of information coming in. So you kind of have to find your groove. You know, you said groovy earlier. I had to chuckle because I always say that you just find your groove. You get in that space and you just allow those messages to come through, whether you get 1 or 100 messages. You just let that message come through, or those messages come through, and you be grateful and thankful, and always have what I call a two-way conversation. Thank the animal, tell them how beautiful they are. Oh my gosh, look at you. You're the most beautiful bird I've ever seen in my life. You remind me of someone I love very much. You're just, you know, adorable. That's going to get you a lot farther than going, hi, my name is Karen and I talk to animals.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, like run, don't walk away, right?
Exactly.
Kind of vibe. Like those of you who are listening, especially, this is awesome because you're not, you're not even seeing us. Like just notice to tune into your vibe when you said what, oh, you're so beautiful. You remind me of someone I love versus, hi, I'm Karen, I'm an animal communicator. You're like, I bet you are. Just notice how it feels different in your body as well. I didn't mean to
Yes.
interrupt you, but that was like a perfect point.
Yes, yes. And sometimes, you have to lean in and you have to show interest. And think about yourself at a party. I'm not a party girl. I'm the one hiding in the back petting the cat at a party. That's who I am. But think of yourself at a party. Would you rather talk to the person who comes up and shakes your hand abruptly and I'm the CEO and founder of blah blah blah, or would you rather talk to the person like, did you see their cat? Oh my god, it's beautiful, it's the most gorgeous cat I've ever seen, I used to have one like that. Well, I'm going to gravitate toward that cat person. That's where I'm going to go, because they saw you connecting with that cat and they're leaning in, and now you have this commonality, this common bond, the love of animals. So you're going to be way more willing to talk to that person than you are the other one who came across kind of stuffy and officious and, oh, look at me. So think about how you approach that animal. Are you going to lean in and be like, oh my God, you're so cute, you're so beautiful, I just absolutely adore your colors and look at you. Yeah, you're going to be way more interested in talking to that person. And that's what I like to remind those who are just getting started. We can be very nervous at first. We can be very structured and, oh, step 1 and, oh, step 2, do this, and step 3, do that. But it really isn't like that. It's more of a fluidity. It kind of ebbs and flows, and it's natural, and it's it's easy and it's gentle. And I even do this weird thing, Shannon, you'll probably laugh at me, but I will rock when I'm connecting. I rock back and forth.
Interesting.
Yes, I rock back and forth. And at first I didn't know I was doing it. And then my mom said to me, I was watching you when you were in that session and you were rocking back and forth. I was not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were. And then I realized that it's doing a couple things for me. It's giving my left brain something to do. Our left brain is the one that wants to talk us out of communication.
Everything. Yeah.
Yes. And it also let me just kind of find my place in space and time that made the connection easier with that particular animal. So there was this gentle rocking back and forth. Some people doodle, they'll have a pad and paper and they'll doodle, or, a very famous medium that I adore, George Anderson, no relation, but he does circles on a big scratch pad. Yeah. It's partly left brain. It's partly to kind of open portals and to allow messages to come through. So whatever you do, embrace your weirdness, embrace that, whatever it is that you're doing, and just know that as long as you're being respectful and kind and loving, you're going to get more messages that way. So that's a really good place to start.
I love that idea. In yet another former life, another iteration of me in this lifetime, so to speak. I really was a singer-songwriter and performing and things like that. And man, I used to get so many good song ideas when I was in the shower or when I was out on a walk, basically any place where I didn't have anything handy to record, because I wasn't sitting down. I wasn't at my instrument. I wasn't trying. That doesn't mean there isn't any structure to be had when it comes to learning how to tune in on demand, so to speak, especially if you do want to do this in a more structured way with rescue animals or professionally in some capacity. But it does mean that, moving the body keeps us from getting stuck in our heads and can be really important. One thing I like to do before I connect with an animal and their human is I like to do yoga if I can, and get my body moving and limbered up. So I'm not, sitting down. I mean, nobody is going to want to watch me do interpretive dance while, on a Zoom while I'm connecting with their animal. But I also don't want to be sitting there going, oh man, I don't even know if that ache in my back is the animal's or is mine, because I haven't moved in like 12 hours, So I love the idea of doing something a little more organic and subtle, like, doodling or rocking or something that I love watching you do it because it's actually kind of subtle, and I actually start doing it and then I feel calmer and then I start to feel very calm. And I love how you were sharing earlier about the messages coming through at, like, maybe you see a triangle or something, that nonverbal communication isn't afraid to use all of our senses. It is verbal in a sense that when the data flows in, our minds are going to have to try their best to kind of receive it openly, honestly, and without any preconceived notions or judgments or assumptions. But it's still going to have to do a little bit of, decoding or descrambling in the brain and then deliver it back to us. So we might get a feeling like a backache or a visual impression like a triangle, or we might get an emotion, a feeling, or we might get words, or we might just know something that we didn't know 5 seconds before. In fact, those of you who are just, either super new to this or just maybe you have only received information in one way and you want to kind of start playing with some different ways, I encourage you to head over to animallovelanguages.com/camp. I have a 5-day free animal communication camp. Say that 5 times or even 1 time fast. It's 5 minutes a day. Practice with your own pet, totally free. And you can just kind of start to wake up, just kind of turn on your other senses. I liken the whole, interspecies communication is something that is our birthright. It's something we all have access to. It's how, in those National Geographic specials, and you see the gazelles and the lion pride, and they're all drinking at the water hole together. It looks like the Garden of Eden. It's so peaceful. And then all of a sudden somebody gets hungry. How do the gazelles know? Why do they start flicking their tails and pricking their ears and being like, I just have to outrun him in the back, and then they all take off. It's because there's community. It's tapped into our survival instincts, the fight or flight system, everything about us that knows without knowing how, and knows it's too urgent to ignore, even if we don't know why. So just to understand the programs in there somewhere. And it's just kind of a matter of, go to your applications. I say this a lot. Find the program that says interspecies communication, unzip the file, download it, install it, run it. I think Animal Communication Camp can help you just, start to consider it like a little tour of the program, some fun things you can do. And then Karen, let's talk, because I'm not offering courses right now, but you, in fact, like I said, when we started, one of my dearest friends who I met, she's now part of my tribe through studying animal communication in a little bit more of a formal way. That's one really cool thing about studying, choosing a teacher and studying a little bit more disciplined manner, is that you start meeting your tribe, a whole new tribe, a really fun, cool tribe who also loves talking about animals. And for those of you who don't have anyone that shares your passion for animals right now, wouldn't that be fun? Like, you could literally talk, like I could talk to Karen all day. She's like, I got stuff to do, stop talking. But let's talk about, let's say we wanted, maybe Animal Communication Camp. Wow, that was fun, 5 days. But okay, now what? Now I've just kind of took a quick tour. What do I do next? Talk to us, Karen. What happens next? You've got books, you've got courses, you've got mentoring, you've got sessions.
I do. I have all of the above. So, we'll start with the kind of the first platform. The first platform that I would suggest are the free platforms, because I truly feel like, we as the ambassadors of animal communication, we should give people enough information so that they can say, you know what, I really resonate with this, or I don't resonate with that and go somewhere else, or I really resonate with this style, because we're all different. We're all going to find a unique way of connecting that's not the same as me. It's not the same as you. And I embrace that. I like to embrace the individual. I don't want a bunch of little Karen Andersons running around. I want to take your gifts and your skill and your dreams, and I want to help you enhance that so that you create your own style. So the free platforms I have are, there's a free Facebook group that I run. It's called Animal Communication Planet.
Nice.
And this is where you practice with other members' pets in the group. So there's no meetings, there's no Zooms, but I go in the group and I give free training. So I'll stream live and you get to ask me questions. You get to put out scenarios out there. If this happens, what do I do here? Or this happened, what should I have done? Or, how do you do this? Or how do you do that? So that's a great platform where you get to surround yourself. Again, you're talking about finding your people, finding your tribe.
Yes.
So that's one way. The other way is I have an app that you can download right now. It's called Pet Loss, Hope, and Healing. And I offer free training through that app. So there's a test your skills section where you can go in and connect with a pet and see what you got, and then go into another section and see who that actually is. So another great platform to really kind of dive in and see what resonates with you, because again, my style may not be for you. And there's lots of us out there. So really try to find somebody that you resonate with, someone that you go, oh, that totally makes sense to me. Because I remember when I was learning, there were things that there weren't very many animal communicators way back then, but there were things that just didn't sit well with me. And I didn't have very many choices. So it's like, well, it's either this or nothing. But now you have choices. You have so many mentors out there. Take advantage of this brilliance of all of these people that are offering all of their different modalities and methods and styles. So those are my two free platforms. And if you are then interested and hooked and you're like, oh, this is really cool, I want more, then I offer an online beginners program. It's called the Complete Animal Communication Formula. And this is where you log in when you want, you practice when you want. Again, no group meetings. You're not going to be put on the spot. You're not going to be, stared at. But
Right.
you work with me, and I will provide personalized feedback on a beginner level. So even if you're just brand new, or maybe you've done this before, but you haven't practiced in a long time, you want to sharpen those skills, this is a great course. And again, you have full access to the course for a lifetime. So whenever I add anything to it, you get all of that information as well. And really, truly, it's like having me right there by your side, because you post what you get, and then I give you my personal feedback. So it's really a neat platform. And then I also offer what I call the Animal Communication Mastery Program. The Mastery Program, this is for those who are already at the intermediate and upwards through the advanced levels, or maybe someone who's a professional and needs some help with the business aspect of it, how to deliver a session, how to structure a session, how to set up your business, how to set up your marketing goals. It covers just about everything you could possibly need as someone who just wants to be a better animal communicator and someone who wants to take this to a professional level. And that is a very intense, again, one-on-one. You're not in a group. It's one-on-one. You get me to yourself, and you don't have to fight for my attention. You get 100% of my attention. So the mastery program is intense. It's a lot of work, but big payoffs, big payoffs. And I don't hold anything back. I share everything with my coaching clients. I want to see them succeed, and I want to be a part of their beautiful story as they go out in the world and shine their light out there. So those are the ways that I help on the animal communication side. Mm-hmm. And then for those who are curious about my background and how I got started, I have 2 books out right now. I'm writing the 3rd one. The 2 books are Hear All Creatures, as in you hear them, hear all creatures. Mm-hmm. And the other one is called The Amazing Afterlife of Animals. They're both available on Amazon and Audible and Kindle, and they're also available on my website. You get a discount if you come to my website and order them. And truly, I document everything that happened to me, the craziness of how I ended up, where I ended up. It's all documented in these books so that you can take your journey and go, wow, Karen had this crazy stuff happen to her. My stuff's kind of crazy too. It's different, but it's crazy. But it really empowers the reader to stand in the truth of who they are and embrace their gifts and their dreams, and to not let anyone or anything stand in their way or stop them from pursuing what they truly want to do. And that's what I did. I said to everybody who stood in my way, I'm going forward with this, and I'm not going to let anyone stop me. And I'm going to be the very best I can be. And I'm going to do one thing, but I'm going to do it really, really good.
Good. I love that. I love that. I mean, talk about, my father passed a few months ago, and a couple months ago. And,
I'm sorry.
It's been a year. It's been a year, lots of change, lots of transitions, and the one thing, as a fellow introvert, my mother is very extroverted, and always, I wished I was more like her. And, sometimes it led to some minor or not so minor self-esteem issues. And my father, at one point, he said to one of our favorite movies was Meatballs with Bill Murray. And, he mentors the shy kid, Rudy, who, just is so lonely and doesn't know how to make friends. And after we watched that movie, I don't know, 10 or 50 times together. And he would say to me, I've only ever had a few really close friends at a time in my life. And I mean, here at the end of my life, I've only, there's only a handful of people, but I mean, really, truly, if you make one good friend in this lifetime, you're so rich. And it's like, the world today has so many choices. There's so many options, and it's like, go big and go home. And it's like, we can't do that in every area of our life. And we don't know if the small, still voice in our spirit today might become that thing, that one really, really good thing tomorrow. What I don't want people to do, if you're listening or you're watching this podcast, is put yourself into a position where you've overstretched the available time and resources that you have right now, and on a full-on immersion thing where it's like, this is also supposed to be fun. Like, just when Karen was giving the analogy about the party, who do you want to talk to? The stuffy dude with the business card with a whole stack of them, and he's intent on getting around everyone in the room to talk about himself. Yay. He had, 20 good conversations, and everybody else was looking for the door, versus, do you want to just talk about somebody's cat? Because that's fun and it opens your heart. So, you don't have to do the full-on go back to college thing right now. Play, have fun, enjoy having conversations outside of your species. Give it a try, see how it unfolds, be patient. Because the truth is, with animals, is that there are teachers in this. They already know this language very, very well. They not only know they have it, but they've learned how to use it over a lifetime. We didn't even know we had the program, most of us. Or if we did, it was very subtle, like we were talking about earlier. It was like you, Karen, where you knew you had it, but you didn't have any mirrors around you of your own species saying, yes, that's a thing. Yes, that happens. Yes, that's, it's part of being human. So you have a little bit of a learning curve ahead of you, and there's no reason to rush. You have everything you need. So start at the level that works for your time, for your energy, for your finances. Start with a book. That's how I started. And then one of the best ways to experience interspecies communication, unsubtle marketing ploy here, is I'll be honest, because this is how it happened for me, is I was in the library browsing for books about animals, having no idea that the animal communication was the thing. One book led to another, and I landed on a book about animal communication. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. I have a complex dynamic in my interspecies family with a dog and a parrot and a tortoise and a box turtle. And it's like, what's going on? And I ended up hiring that communicator to just do a session. And that talked my mind so firmly into the fact that this was real, because I couldn't ignore that she knew things about my animals that I knew, that I didn't know how I knew, that were like, it was like it's a great way to just give yourself half an hour or an hour to chat with one of us, and just have that experience, and then decide, do you want to go big or go home? Then you decide after that. You don't just jump, because it can feel so overwhelming that you instantly forget why you started all of this in the first place. And I don't want that to happen to you, because the animals need each one of us. The animals need us. And in fact, Karen, we're nearing the end of our time, but I really don't want to close out, because you have such a specialization in pets in the afterlife, and you have a book called The Amazing Afterlife. And so I really, I'd love it if you'd speak just a little bit to those who are missing a beloved animal who's crossed, and to helping to keep that connection alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally did not intend to be a pet loss specialist and an afterlife expert. And Shannon, that's the great thing about animal communication, is you can find what calls to your heart, and you can follow that and just pursue that, because it soothes your soul and it makes you feel good and it heals you from the inside out. And so in my sessions, and I was doing sessions for 25 years, and over those 25 years, I found that the sessions that really truly kind of were mind blowing were the afterlife communication, because I could actually feel the healing take place right there on the phone with the client. You could feel their energy shift. You can feel them move from that place of being so broken to that their heart filling up again and that effervescence of that love. And I truly got addicted to that feeling of helping those who are struggling with a loss. And the one thing I think that stands out for me so much is if you are really struggling from the loss of a pet and missing that pet, the one thing to realize is that not much changes for them. You know, your whole world shifts and becomes this strange place without them, but nothing really changes for them. In fact, they get to do more with you. They get to go with you everywhere you go. They get to be in your mind, in your heart. They get to be there by your side. They can go places. They can go on vacation with you. They can go, you know, to the store with you. You know, I had one cat, a departed cat, one time say to me, "Tell my mom toothpaste."
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
okay, toothpaste. Okay. Well, it turned out that just before that session, this particular client who was missing her beloved kitty had gone to the grocery store just to get toothpaste, nothing else. She just went to get toothpaste. It's one of those things that she went to the store, forgot, so she had to go back and get toothpaste. So there she is standing in line getting toothpaste. The person in front of her put on the conveyor belt cat food and, you know, cat supplies, and it just crushed her because she was missing her baby so much. And she had said to herself, "I just miss you so much. Please just give me a sign. Just let me know that you're around me." And then she left the store and got home to do the session with me. And I have this kitty all excited saying, "Toothpaste, toothpaste, tell mom toothpaste." So they really truly are with us. So they can hear you. They can feel you. Yes, they can feel your pain. It doesn't harm them. Your grief doesn't harm them. It doesn't stop them on their beautiful spiritual journey. But think about this. Would you rather hang out with somebody that was grieving and in pain all the time? Or would you rather hang out with somebody that was fun and full of love and happy thoughts and joyful memories? Not saying to rush through your grief. I'm not saying that at all. Honor your grief. But when it's time, your pets will be so happy to see you move into that place of healing. We move through the grief. We never move past it. We never get over it. We're forever changed, but that's the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be forever changed. And just remember, they will always be by your side, no matter what, no amount of distance, no amount of time. You could move 3 times, doesn't matter. It could be 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, doesn't matter. You guys are bonded. Those bonds of love never die, ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really important message to take to heart. Those of you who are watching this on the video, of course, have noticed that at the moment you started talking about pets in the afterlife, Pearl started attacking this beautiful little glittery heart necklace that I'm wearing today. I don't normally wear this necklace, and he is just obsessed. He got obsessed with it all of a sudden. He was just like, those of you who are listening will have to imagine, but it's like, you can feel the heart open up whenever, you know, grief is another one of those universal experiences that we all share. It's also in our operating system. And it's one of the quickest pathways past the mind into the heart. We don't want to stay there, but it is the reason it changes us forever is because it opens our heart to such a degree that we can no longer talk ourselves out of our feelings. We can't think them away. And in our animals, sometimes, you know, it's one of the most powerful ways that they can start to help us open up and to hear them. In fact, it's probably, I would say, they're the 2 top things that drive people to contact me are either pets that have passed, that they're missing them beyond what feels bearable, or we all have them, pet behavior problems. And that's a topic for a different podcast, right? But
Oh, yes.
but just understand, even though our world is we're just on the cusp of kind of opening up to understanding that love is love is love is love is love. It doesn't matter what species, it doesn't matter what orientation you are, it doesn't matter what species you are. Love is love is love is love is love. Unfortunately, it hasn't quite filtered out to the point where the support in the loss is equal, no matter what kind of love relationship we're in transition with. But just understand that you are listening to and interacting with and engaging with two individuals who deeply and profoundly respect the depth of your loss and truly want to encourage you to follow that thread. It has so many more gifts to offer you. And they're right there. And Karen, I'm just so grateful for your time this morning. I know you have quite a menu. Every week you've got so much going on, and it's been a joy to share this podcast with you. I'm truly grateful for all that you do for animals and their people. And I want to just encourage everyone, KarenAnderson.net, an app for pet loss, grief and healing, amazing. When can you find an animal communication app? You got to get on that, right? Books that you can enjoy. And of course, you can find us, myself and Pearl, at animallovelanguages.com. You can also find, we were speaking earlier about looking for the teacher that you resonate with. There are lots of great books. There's lots of great teachers. There are lots of great free courses that you can start with just to kind of get a flavor for what's available. And you can find at the podcast tab, you can find archives of all of our videos and streaming podcast episodes. You can listen to your heart's content. And we know that you have a busy, full life as well. I just want to honor and thank you for sharing your time and attention with us today, and for being our good company during this, I don't know, maybe 40, I think they're usually 40 minutes, but I've so enjoyed talking to you. I think we've stretched a little longer, and thank you for your patience with that, Miss Karen. We just are very grateful.
Oh, thank you so much.
So Pearl and his mummy and Karen Anderson are saying bye for now. See you next time. And if you have any questions or comments, you know where to find us. We look forward to hearing from you. Please share this podcast if you found it of value and insightful, especially if you have someone in your life who has lost a precious animal and is grieving. And please also, if you have a moment, to do your thing. The 10 stars, do the long glowing review. We love those. And let us know who you'd like to hear from next, and I will do my utmost. All righty. From Let's Talk to Animals, Karen Anderson, Shannon, and Pearl, we say bye for now and talk to you soon.